Why? When you can host your own radio show. You're listening and you think you can do better? You have a message or a product you want everyone to know about. Host your own radio show. Team up with the area's best radio professionals and let them make you sound like you should be on NBC. KCAA NBC Radio, that is. KCAA produces more than 50 local programs each week on subjects ranging from business and sports to political talk, vegan diets, or even marijuana-related issues. We don't just broadcast on the radio, we broadcast to the world. Online, on TV, on social media, on Facebook. You'll be all over. Imagine what your friends will say. And KCAA reaches over 5 million people on 3 radio stations. Join the staff on 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM. NBC Radio. Jump on the KCAA Express. Call 909-793-1065. That's 909-793-1065. And get ready to transmit.
This is KCAA.
Are you ready for a new experience? To see life from another point of view? New hope, new expression, new joy. This is your radio hour. Welcome to Viewpoint with Father John.
And welcome, friends. You are tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or on the World Wide Web at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John, and I am your host, Father John Reed. By the way, you can follow the show on Facebook at Viewpoint with Father John, and guess what, kids? We're on Instagram. Come and follow us. It's Viewpoint with Father John. There's a lot of photos there. There's also some videos. I like to give inspirational messages every couple of days. So join us. It's a fun family, and I would love to see you on Instagram. All of God's children are endowed with extraordinary purpose and ability. I'm on a quest to help as many as possible in fully realizing their divinely inspired potential. Disposing a false narrative and embracing genuineness inspires clarity of purpose. My role is to help overcome self-imposed limitations in realizing one's spiritual potential. And this portion of the show is brought to you by Draper and Kramer Mortgage Corporation, the name you've trusted for over 100 years. If you're looking to refinance or purchase a home, contact my friend Ernie Gonzalez at 888-284-8332. Again, that's 888-284-8332. Or online with mortgagesbyernie.com, and tell them Father John sent you. Draper and Kramer Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 2551, is licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Ernie Gonzalez, NMLS 1086147, is an equal housing lender. And he's a good guy, so do call him. And tonight is a very special night, in addition to being our Christmas special. And the reason it's so special is it's because it's Gabby and mine wedding anniversary. And I am so excited about that because I am married to the most incredible woman in the world. She wasn't able to be in studio tonight. She started doing some work out in Los Angeles. But you know what? I'll tell you, I miss her greatly here, and I can't wait to get home and see her. Best thing that ever happened to me, besides my son Jonathan, is Gabby. No man could have a better wife than her. And so, sweetheart, if you're listening, I hope you're listening. Happy anniversary, baby. And I look forward to seeing you when I get home. I would like to begin this special Christmas show by wishing a wonderful Merry Christmas to the Ecumenical Patriarch of the Orthodox Churches, His Holiness Bartholomew, all the patriarchs of the Eastern Churches, the Patriarch of the West Church, which is Pope Francis, my bishop in France, Bishop Gregory, my vicar general, Father Tom, and my brother priest in Texas, who is my partner in crime in all this, Father Fausto, and to all of you, my listeners. I also wish a Merry Christmas to the owner of KCAA Radio, Fred Lundgren, to our station manager, Mark Westwood, and the entire staff here at KCAA, and of course, the most amazing sound engineer in the world, Nick Lane, and his beautiful wife, Lauren. So that's how we're starting out tonight, and it only gets better from there. So this is the Christmas special. What does that mean? I mean, we're going to talk about the spirituality of Christmas. Is that going to be a lot of preaching? Not a whole lot, but maybe some ideas you haven't thought about with Christmas. And I hope you'll bear with me because there might be some ideas here you haven't thought about. And so I'm going to start in the Gospel of Luke. And this is, of course, the first chapter. And it starts with verse 26. This is the Annunciation. And hopefully I'll be able to enunciate tonight. In the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent by God to a town in Galilee called Nazareth, to a virgin betrothed to a man named Joseph of the house of David. And the virgin's name was Mary. He went and said to her, "Rejoice, so highly favored. The Lord is with you." She was deeply disturbed by these words and asked herself what this greeting could mean. But the angel said, "Mary, do not be afraid. You have won God's favor. Listen, you are to conceive and bear a son, and you must name him Jesus." In the Aramaic, it was Yeshua. "He will be great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his ancestor David. He will rule over the house of Jacob forever, and his reign will have no end." Mary said to the angel, "But how can this come about, since I am a virgin?" "The Holy Spirit will come upon you," the angel answered, "and the power of the Most High will cover you with its shadow. And so the child will be holy and will be called Son of God. Know this too, your kinsman Elizabeth has, in her old age, herself conceived a son, and she whom people called barren is now in her 6th month. For nothing is impossible to God." And she responded, "I am the handmaid of the Lord," said Mary. "Let what you have said be done to me." And the angel left. Now let's take that apart a little bit. Here is Mary, who's betrothed to Joseph, and they weren't having relations because she was too young. And marriage was not a romantic thing that we think of. In fact, love had nothing to do with marriage into the 13th century with the troubadours. It was arranged marriages. I always get really upset, and Gabby won't let me watch these movies because I start throwing marshmallows and stuff at the television. I don't want to break the TV, for heaven's sake. I just want to make a point. The fact that they do this thing where Mary's walking down the street and Joseph is watching, and Mary's friends say, "Oh, Mary, he's looking at you." And they go out. That never happened. It wouldn't happen that way. The families arranged all this, and it had nothing to do with love. It had to do with business, because you were combining two different businesses, and marriage wasn't between one man and one woman. It was between one man and all the women his family could afford. So why is that important? Because this is setting up that if anything were to happen, it was a deal breaker. So for her to show up pregnant would be a disgrace to her family, to Joseph's family, and she could have been put to death by that. And Joseph, when we read in the Gospel of Matthew, is upset about this, but he's a just man, as it said. And by the way, I'm using the Jerusalem Bible for those of you wondering what translation this is. And because he's a good guy, he's not going to embarrass her so that she gets stoned to death by the village. The people from the village. I almost said the village people, but that would have been even worse. She'd be discoed to death. And so, nothing against you disco lover people. So he's going to take her to a village where nobody knows him and divorce her quietly. But the angel Gabriel comes to him and says, "Joseph, do not be afraid. Your wife has been impregnated by the Holy Spirit. She's been faithful to you, and you must name him Emmanuel, which means God is with us." And he decides to have faith and believe it, which is what Mary had to do. Could you imagine being in her place? This angel appears, says these things, and she did something that we're called to do in this time, just a few days before Christmas, which is to say, okay, this is beyond anything I could have ever been able to believe. It's outside my experience, but I choose to believe. and I surrender to this, that there may be something greater than I'm aware of going on. This happens in our lives in many different ways. And so she says, be it done unto me according to your word. Boy, is that surrender. Boy, is that a risk. She's risking everything. What if Joseph doesn't believe her? What if she loses her life for this? And then, of course, she goes to her Aunt Elizabeth. Here she is. She's really not married. She's just betrothed. And so she's a pregnant teenager running away from home to Aunt Elizabeth. Why do I put it that way? How many young ladies in our society are pregnant and we look down upon them? Well, I think we're being told something different from something greater than us, the compassion of God, who says, don't be so quick to judge. Life only comes from one place, and that's from God. And so even if you don't agree with the circumstances, that baby would not be born if it weren't for the love of God. So don't be so quick to throw the woman away, and certainly don't be quick to throw the baby away, because even if the circumstances were really bad and not what we would ask for, the concept of the baby, it was infused with love. And I think that's a very important point for us to keep. And so we're going to move on a little bit. Nick is having fun watching me change glasses with headphones on, showing that we Irish are talented and can multitask at the same time. That was a double negative. I am so sorry about that. So we're now in chapter 2. And now at this time, Caesar Augustus issued a decree for a census of the whole world to be taken. And everyone went to his own town, to be registered. So Joseph set out from the town of Nazareth in Galilee and traveled to Judea, to the town of David called Bethlehem, since he was of David's house and line, in order to be registered together with Mary, his betrothed. Notice it said his betrothed, not married yet, not his wife, who was with child. While they were there, the time came for her to have the child, and she gave birth to a son, her firstborn. She wrapped him in swaddling clothes and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn. In the countryside, close by were the shepherds who lived in the fields and took its turn to watch the flocks during the night. The angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them. They were terrified, but the angel said, "Do not be afraid. Listen, I bring you good news of great joy, a joy to be shared by the whole people. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is Christ the Lord. And here is a sign for you. You will find a baby wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger." And suddenly and suddenly with the angel there was a great throng of heavenly hosts, praise God and singing, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and peace to men who enjoy his favor." And we will continue this on the other side of the break, because that's a perfect time, because what I'm going to explain next I think is so important you don't want to miss it. So we'll see you in 2 and 2.
The loss of a loved one is one of the most challenging experiences in a person's life. It's hard to know where to turn to make your loved one's final arrangements. Jesse Ruiz at Personal Funeral Planning in Ontario will treat you and your loved one with the respect you deserve. Jesse served in the Marine Corps in Desert Storm and understands what it takes to provide loyal, personalized, and empathetic service to those who need it most. The families of Michael Jackson, Brittany Murphy, Ed McMahon, and many others have trusted Jesse to provide them with the highest level of service and support. To work with Jesse, call 909-762-4027, 909-762-4027, or visit their website, www.4pfp.org. www.4pfp as in personalfuneralplanning.org. Jesse Ruiz and Personal Funeral Planning, veteran-owned and operated, helping you plan a personal, lasting tribute for your loved one. www.4pfp.org.
Hey guys, this is Andrew Caravella. Just wanted to let you know that KCAA has a new listener line for all of you that have a phone. Now you can listen to KCAA in the grocery store, in the doctor's office, or when you want to pretend you're on the phone with someone just so that creeper will leave you alone. Call 720-835-3099 today and listen to your favorite KCAA radio shows. That number again, 720-835-3099. KCAA Radio, the station that leaves no caller or listener behind.
If you're looking for a full or part-time sales position and you have radio, TV, or print media experience, KCAA has a great opportunity waiting for you that pays the highest commissions in the market. KCAA is the only station in the IE that broadcasts on 3 frequencies, so advertisers receive 3 ads for 1 low rate. This makes KCAA a must-buy for every local business. If you're interested in a sales position with us, email ceo@kcaaradio.com.
And welcome back. You are tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or on the World Wide Web at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John, and I am your host, Father John Reed. And a reminder, follow us on Instagram. We are starting to build the numbers a little bit, and we really want to get a big family going, not for my ego, just to get the name of the show out so more people can enjoy what we're doing here. I think we have a history of getting really good guests, which next week will be our good friend Martha Bass will be back. And so please continue to tune in, follow us on Instagram. This portion of the show is brought to you in part by Draper & Kramer Mortgage Corporation, the name you've trusted for over 100 years. If you're looking to refinance or purchase a home, contact my friend Ernie Gonzalez at 888-284-8332. Again, that's 888-284-8332, or online at mortgagesbyernie.com, and tell them that Father John sent you. Draper & Kramer Mortuary Corporation, NMLS 2551, is licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Ernie Gonzalez, NMLS 1086147, an equal housing lender. And I'm having fun because I changed glasses during the commercial, and these aren't my reading glasses I'm wearing, so I did that in perfect blur. So I hope you enjoyed that. I sure did. So, back to our Christmas special. And let's take apart a little bit what we're looking at. Here is the Son of God, which we're all sons and daughters of God, but this is the begotten. What that means is one that was intentionally made, not created through intercourse, which there's nothing wrong with creating that way. It's a wonderful thing. I think that's why God made it feel so good. So, why would the Son of God go to a place where there's no room at the end, be born and have to be placed in a manger among all the animals? What's going on with this? I think it's a very important act of love. And here's the act of love that it's about. See, if Jesus had come and had all the privilege, had all the gold and everything, and never had to want for anything, how could we relate to him? But because of how Jesus came into the world, God was saying, I get what it is to be poor. I get what it is to be on the fringe, on the outside, the crowd that's not in, the crowd that has everything. He was coming for people like you and me. The people who weren't born with a silver spoon in their mouth, which I don't think is sanitary anyhow. But anyhow, he came to show us that we can relate, that we needed something to hang on to, that we could relate to, that we could fall in love with. So that's why Jesus came this way. And then we have the shepherds or the magi. They weren't three kings. I know in some translations they say that, but that's a bad translation. But they were shepherds. And the reason that we use the word magi is because it's part of the word magic. Some were psychics, soothsayers, and it was part of the religion that they practiced. It wasn't considered taboo then, and in some parts of the church it still isn't. But there are some parts that are afraid of everything, and so if they don't understand it, they say it's taboo. And do what you want with that. I'm just giving you some history. So here the angel appears to them. Now, could you imagine being out in the field, and here comes this angel, and you hear singing behind it? I would be stressed. Okay, it's been a long time since I had a drink, and I would think I was still detoxing, to be honest with you. And here comes this angel telling them what's going on in Bethlehem. And then when we read further into the gospel, they decide to go and see this wonderful thing. And they are just following a star, what's called the North Star. Now, this isn't new. Okay, it's new to us in America and the Western world because we don't do maps like that, but anyone who was an old-time sailor would tell you that's how they would navigate, was by the stars. And so when it says that the star will be hovering over Bethlehem where this baby is, it means that follow that star until you get to Bethlehem. It was navigation, but also part of this is good storytelling. That's part of the Bible. There's nothing sacrilegious about that. But if you don't keep the people's attention, they're not going to listen much longer. Just like if I don't keep your attention, you turn to another station, which is a really bad thing. And so, just take my word for that. So anyhow, they're going on just a bit of faith that something wonderful is happening. And they show up, and here's this baby. And they can see there's something special. What is it that's special? They can see the love of God, and they're moved by it. But in order to see that loving baby, and to be moved by it, and to be struck with awe, they have to take a risk. They have to believe that what they just experienced was really happening. We forget to do that these days. I get a lot of people come to me for spiritual counseling, and they get signs that are going on. Instead of paying attention to it, they think something's wrong. Now, I'm not talking about schizophrenia. I'm talking about real signs here. And we have forgotten how to pay attention to those. And that's a shame. And they followed this. And they got to see a great miracle and be part of that. Well, brothers and sisters, we're called to that every day. We're all being called to some type of special event that's taken place where we can see the love of God being birthed into somebody else. What does that mean, birthed into somebody else? We're all born with God. But that moment that we become aware, we awaken to it. You know, our Buddhist brothers and sisters, that the word, the Buddha means he who is awakened. And that's our form of that. We're waking up to the Christ Spirit. And the fact that Jesus is born in a way that we can relate to, where I come from a very poor family, that we sometimes didn't know if there would be something to eat. And so I can relate to Jesus in this. And I know that Jesus can relate to me because he didn't come here with everything just wonderful. And then with his growing up and finding him in the temple and such, which would be for a later program, he has all the experiences that we have. That's important. That's a message that we're supposed to take in, that we say that God is all powerful. What we forget to say is God is all vulnerable too. And God is willing to be strong enough to be weak, to share in our pain, to share in our agony. This is how loving God is. And during this Christmas season, which begins at midnight on December 25th, right now it's Advent, Some people don't realize that Christmas starts actually on Christmas Day and goes for 8 weeks. And for we of the Orthodox Church, that's really January 6th. But that's okay. We're not going to split hairs here, because the whole thing is about being aware of the Christ Spirit. Well, what is the Christ Spirit? It's life itself. It's enlightenment itself. It's the very love of God. You know, when we read Genesis, there's a line that those of us who are of the monotheistic religions, that means one God, there's a line in the second chapter of Genesis that said, we made him in our image and likeness. It's plural, not singular. And the scholarly work of today's scholars believe that was the beginning of the Trinity. Because if you look at the Gospel of John, where it says everything was made through Christ, and without Christ nothing was created that is created. And so Christ didn't just come in Jesus, Christ always was, but is being expressed through Jesus. Well, brothers and sisters, I like what Mother Teresa says when she says, we're the only hands Jesus has. See, as we get close to Christmas, the idea is for you to discover that the Christ Spirit has been born in your heart, that what you've been looking for, you're looking with, that you are part of this good news. That's not egotistical. That's praising God and saying, thank you for creating me, that you can express yourself through me and as me. And we have forgotten that. I think of a line in the movie Hook, and anyone who also knows that movie is a fellow geek like me, and so I send a hello to all brother geeks and sister geeks, and, because we're all nerds, and that's okay. It's good to be nerds during Christmas time. We have more fun than the cool kids do. But there's a line when Wendy is talking to Robin Williams, who's now playing Peter as an adult, and going through all the stuff he's doing. First she talks about, Peter, you become one of the pirates, because he's doing the hedge funds and all that stuff. But there's another line that I can't hear without being filled with tears, and that's where she says, why, Peter, you've forgotten who you are. Brothers and sisters, our biggest problem in our lives is we've forgotten who we are. And Christmas is about reminding us who we are. We are the children of God, regardless of what your religion is. Jesus came not to change God's mind about us, but to change our mind about God. Up until that time, they're always trying to find God's favor. Up to that time, if they didn't have good crops, they thought God was angry with them, and they tried to make greater sacrifices, which all religions did back then. They all made sacrifices. And if you know your gospel, and I hope you do, Jesus said he was the final sacrifice, that God did not need a sacrifice, that God would be the sacrifice himself through Christ Jesus. And remember, Christ is not Jesus' last name. So in this Christmas experience, we're being told we do not need to make more sacrifices, for God made the sacrifice himself for us, so that we can be redeemed with God, not because God was angry with us, but because we thought God was a separate and apart from us. And Jesus is saying, no, you are loved. You are important. For this very night, life has been expressed, that you will know life and know it abundantly. And when I say abundantly, I'm not talking about a bunch of cash, winning the lottery or whatever. I'm talking about real life abundance, joy, love, friendship, charity. A lot of people have a misunderstanding of what abundance is. They think that's being able to have 15 televisions. Well, that's not. That's abuse of resources. Real prosperity is having everything you need to make your needs met, with enough to share with those less fortunate. That's prosperity. That's why Jesus came to us as a poor child, so that we know that, look, it's not what you're born with, it's what you're born as. And we're born as good. You cannot be born without that good because all life comes from God. So wherever you are in life, celebrate this Christmas because you are born with goodness inside you. It's just you're the last to know about it. And what happens, the reason we don't know about it is we get out of integrity with ourselves and we start chasing our false identity, our false self, the ego self. And the idea of good faith is getting us in touch with our true self, which is always good, always good. And you wouldn't even be if God didn't want you. When we look in the Old Testament, God says, I have carved your name into the palm of my hand. Now, does that sound like a God that's angry with you? A God that's looking to get even with you? That's not the God that we're discovering at Christmas. The God we're discovering is all compassionate and all passionate, excited about what God has created. Look, I'm going to take you back to Genesis, which is a story, by the way. It's a poem. It's a poem about creation. But when God's going over everything that God makes, God says, made the light, it is good. Made the darkness, it is good. Made the water, it is good. The earth, it is good. He says this about everything until he gets to man. And when he gets to man, he says, this is Tov. And Tov is a great blessing. He says it's very good. And Tov goes beyond even that. It's the greatest of blessings. And so that's how we start out. But we forgot. We forgot that we're Tov, that we're very good. And so Christmas is to remind us, you're Tov. You're very good. You're a blessing beyond words. What an incredible gift. And I know we've gotten Hollywood with it. And we have forgotten what it's really about. Just like Robin Williams as Peter Pan. Why, Peter, you've forgotten who you are. Well, brothers and sisters, we've forgotten who we are. And this is a good time to be reminded. It's a time to know that you've been loved the whole time because God sees something you don't. And that's God sees God's own creation. And God sees God's own creation and is delighted and says, now this is Tov. This is good. And so I'm going to come a minute early to commercial time because the next part of the section I really want to concentrate on to share with you the rest of our Christmas message. We'll see you in 2 and 2.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, K292 FQ Riverside, and K293 CF Moreno Valley.
The loss of a loved one is one of the most challenging experiences in a person's life. It's hard to know where to turn to make your loved one's final arrangements. Jesse Ruiz at Personal Funeral Planning in Ontario will treat you and your loved one with the respect you deserve. Jesse served in the Marine Corps in Desert Storm and understands what it takes to provide loyal, personalized, and empathetic service to those who need it most. The families of Michael Jackson, Brittany Murphy, Ed McMahon, and many others have trusted Jesse to provide them with the highest level of service and support. To work with Jesse, call 909-762-4027, 909-762-4027, or visit their website, www.4pfp.org. www.4pfp as in personalfuneralplanning.org. Jesse Ruiz and Personal Funeral Planning, veteran-owned and operated, helping you plan a personal, lasting tribute for your loved one. www.4pfp.org.
I'm so tired of the buffering on my smartphone.
I'm so over it. Next.
Right? I am so over it. Next.
A radio? Next.
No buffering, just your favorite local radio station?
Next Radio uses the FM tuner that is already built into your phone, so you can listen to your favorite stations on the go. Because Next Radio uses the FM tuner already built into your smartphone, it saves on data and battery usage. When compared to streaming audio, Next Radio uses less than 1/10 of your data, and your battery will last 3 times longer. Next Radio, it's FM radio on your smartphone.
Introducing a radio inside your cell phone. Listen to all kinds of local radio stations, including KCAA 106.5 Yucaipa and 102.3 Riverside on Next Radio. Download the free Next Radio app today. 100% free, 100% fun, 0% buffering. Stop the buffer and listen to KCAA.
And welcome back. You are tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or on the World Wide Web at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John, and I am your host, Father John Reed. And remember to follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. We have quite a family going on. And also I can give you upcoming news of what's going to go on with the program and different speakers we will have. And next week we will have my good friend Martha Bass. And then my first guest in January will be the Dr. John Smith. He's coming back. We're going to talk about psychotherapy, the principles of it, the benefits of it, and what it's not supposed to do. And I know that you enjoy having him back. Meanwhile, let's say hello to our good friend Nick Lane, the master of the board, the wizard of oddity. And how you doing, Nick?
You flatter me. I don't know if I 100% agree with all that, but I'll take it all the same.
Well, I'm always thrilled to have you here. And you know what? You are the best thing that's happened to the show, and so I thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'd also like to just take this moment to say happy anniversary to you and Gabby.
Thank you.
And also happy birthday to my mother.
Oh.
Who turns 68 today.
What's her first name?
Her name is Ilse.
Elsie, happy birthday, and from Viewpoint with Father John. And I hope you're listening to your son's show that he's making sound so good over here, and we celebrate and rejoice with you.
There you go.
And see, we knew what day to get married, on your mother's birthday.
Yeah, see? I'm sure you did that on purpose.
It's a holy day.
There you are.
I have a feeling after that there'll be a hole in my paycheck, too. Speaking of paychecks, this portion of the show is brought to you in part by Draper and Kramer Mortgage Corporation, the name you've trusted for over 100 years. If you're looking to refinance or purchase a home, contact my friend Ernie Gonzalez at 888-284-8332. Again, that's 888-284-8332. Or online at mortgagesbyernie.com. Tell them Father John sent you. Draper and Kramer Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 2551, is licensed by the Department of Business Oversight under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Ernie Gonzalez, NMLS 1086147, an equal housing lender. And do tell them that you heard about it on this show. And this show is also listener supported. So this is where I put on my begging shoes and ask you to go to our website at www.viewpointwithfatherjohn.com. And Father is spelled out. It's not just FR. It's the full word Father. And if you can go to the support button, click on it. Everything you give really helps keep us on the air. And I know everyone gets asked to give things around Christmas. So if you have to do it in January, that's great. If you're able to do it right now, it's great. For those of you who have been supporting this program, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for your support. I really do enjoy being here for you, and I thank you that you're here for me. So, again, happy anniversary to my wife, Gabby. I'm sorry you can't be here, but know that I'm thinking of you, which I always do, because I am the luckiest man in the world to be married to you, and I know it. So, we're talking about Christmas, and we're in the final stretch here. So, as we go into the last few days, I would like for you to really pay attention to the beauty of Christmas around you. It's not about what you receive. It's about what you give. And I'm not talking about big money items. I'll give you an example. I have a dear friend that his gift to his family is what he does is he makes care packages that has socks, clean underwear. It has toothpaste, toothbrush, washcloths, deodorant, shampoo. And he takes them to Skid Row and he passes them out to people who are homeless on behalf of his family members. And he leaves them each a note. This is where I gave your package. Merry Christmas. He helps them be a part of it. One of the things I'm brought to mind of when I was a little child, I mentioned to you I was in a very poor family. And oftentimes we really didn't know if there would be another meal or not. And someone had shared with the Salvation Army, who was a fine organization. They really used the money for good that they receive. And I really want to endorse them for that. Someone had told them that we didn't have a Christmas. Now, this was back when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, before I knew the importance of sleeping in the morning. Had our kitchen window, we had a kitchen window that was by the front porch, is where the house was designed. And it was before the sun was up, and I heard a little movement on our front porch. And so I'm peeking through the curtain because I didn't know what was going on there, and I was a little afraid, to be honest with you. And there's a man there in a Salvation Army uniform putting a box of food and toys on the porch so we would have a good Christmas. And he's trying his best not to get caught. And it was cold out. He's shivering. And he put the stuff there, and he very quietly left, closed the door on his car as quietly as he could so not to wake anyone, and he drove off. There was nothing on the packages that said Salvation Army. They weren't looking to get praise. They were looking to do an act of kindness. They heard this was a family at Christmas time that didn't have food and the children didn't have toys. That's a powerful affirmation of Christianity right there. You see, if you have to tell somebody about the good deed you're doing, it doesn't count. You just erased it. The idea is to do good and not get caught. To do it for the sake of being good. A friend of mine, Chuck Chamberlain, used to say, if you were to define the word love in one word, that word would be action. You do things for those you love because you want to, for free and for fun. You don't barter, you just do it. And if we identify ourselves as people who follow Jesus, that's what Christian means, people who follow the teachings of Jesus, which means we try to live the life Jesus lived. He wanted to be followed, not worshipped. These are the things we need to be doing. Going out there and not getting caught, doing little acts of kindness. They don't have to be huge things. You don't have to put up a whole city into a massive hotel so that nobody's homeless. But you can do something for that one person. The act of kindness, that smile, the looking in the eyes and acknowledging your brother and sister there. That's where Christmas comes alive. You see, God expressed himself in the Christ Spirit in Jesus so that we can see God eye to eye. Well, when you see somebody eye to eye and you acknowledge that Spirit in them, brothers and sisters, you just saw God. And you'll see God looking back at you. You know, that's why I'm really hesitant to put down people on the freeway off-ramp or put down people who are doing the best they can. Because I always wonder if that's Jesus there checking on me to see if I'm doing what I talk about. It may be. You know, I think of chapter 25 of Matthew, and it says, who is and who isn't. It's not, how much you talk about. It's, are you loving to those who don't have love? Are you befriending those who are friendless? Are you welcoming the stranger? Yes, I'm talking about the people coming over our borders. They're not coming to invade. They're seeking asylum. Is that a political message? If it is, I'll stand by it because I'm saying what Jesus told us to do. So if you don't like it, don't get mad at me. Take it up with Jesus because that's what he told us to do. And in this time of Christmas, we're supposed to be experiencing the birth of Christ. So we have to open our hearts. My friend Richard Rohr says something, and of course he's kind of commenting on what St. John of the Cross, St. Teresa of Avila, and also Thomas Keaton and Thomas Merton have said, and that is the only two things that open up the heart so God can express God's self, is great pain or great love. And either way, the heart has to be broken open so that God can be expressed. Well, Christmas is our time of the heart being broken open, that we recognize the Christ Spirit, and that we become those hands of Jesus. And then we can say, glory to God in the highest and peace to people on earth. Because we become that peace. We become that thing that we have been seeking our entire life. I always get excited during this time. Gabby will tell you, I'm worse than a little child. I love Christmas. I play Christmas music all the time because I like the message behind it. It's hope. It's hope. It's bringing hope to people who don't have hope. Again, keep in mind, when Jesus was born and brought us this great message, people thought that God was angry with us, that God was punishing us because we weren't holy enough, or because we couldn't practice the 618 rules of Leviticus every single day. And that's what they require. Otherwise, that's what being a sinner is. If you can't practice all 618 rules of Leviticus every day, and if you can't pay your temple tax. So here comes Jesus. They have no money for all the stuff that keeps you from being a sinner. And he comes to say, those are man-made rules, man. That's okay. You know, he even says to his brother rabbis, you know, you put more rules on people that they can't follow, and you certainly don't follow. And then you keep putting on more rules. How is anyone going to experience God this way? And I'm not putting down my Jewish brothers and sisters. I'm just giving just good teaching what Jesus has taught us. And so this Christmas, I want to invite you to do something that might be new for you and may not be new for you. Instead of being overly religious, and healthy religion is healthy, I have no problem with that, I want to invite you to a new spirituality. A spirituality where you go out of your way to see the reflection of God in everyone you come in contact with, and to do something kind for somebody else. Make somebody else's Christmas. You do this, and you'll probably have the best Christmas you've ever had. You don't have to go out and spend a bunch of money. Sometimes it's just a little kindness. Sometimes it's making a batch of cookies and anonymously leaving a little bag of fresh cookies on somebody's porch. Maybe it's you have somebody that you know is in need of some clothing. And if you have some clothing that you can share with them, or have the ability to buy some clothing, very quietly take it without any names on it, put it on their porch. If you're able to wrap it up, that's nice too. But if you're not able to, that's all right. Or do like my friend Big E does, which is to make the care packages to take to Skid Row or whatever your Skid Row is in your town, and pass it out to the people who are homeless, who are down and out. Don't preach at them. Don't tell them they have to believe anything. The whole gospel is in the act of love, giving to them. I like something that's credited to St. Francis of Assisi, where he tells his friars, go out and preach the gospel, and when necessary, use words. Our whole way of treating people tells them about what we believe. So as we're in this holy season, as we're in this Christmas, this rejoicing, this time of exuberance, of joy, I invite you to be a part of that. To tell someone that you've had a resentment for a long time, that you forgive them. Or even if they don't know you're mad at them, give them love. Say a prayer for their happiness, for their joy. But more than anything, you be the hands of Jesus. And you have your heart open. And I will guarantee you this. On Christmas morning, you will experience the birth of Jesus, the Christ Spirit, because it will be born anew in your heart. That's what Christmas is about. That's why we celebrate it every year, because he wasn't born on December 25th. I hate to tell you that. Our best guess is he was born sometime in March. I'm guessing March 24th, my son's birthday, but that's just me, and I wouldn't be a good dad if I didn't at least think that. And and which makes sense because there's a lot of things he's done that I thought to myself, Jesus. But so I know I'll get a few letters on that. Lighten up, folks. It's don't take yourself so darn serious. Jesus had a sense of humor, and on another show I'll go into the humor of Jesus, and you'll be shocked at what an incredibly wonderful sense of humor Jesus has. But I'm inviting you to have the real Christmas experience, which is to see Christ everywhere you look. And something you might do for the next 30 days as we're in Christmas season, so that this is born in your heart and in your living experience, since Christmas season is 8 weeks, is for the next 8 weeks, pray this prayer. God, reveal yourself to me in my life in a way that I will understand. Let me give that to you again. God, reveal yourself to me in my life in a way that I will understand. And then pay attention and see what happens. And you will find that God is revealing God's self to you in ways that you never thought. And some ways that might even go against your religion. And that's cool because God's bigger than any religion. If God could be confined to one religion or to a building, God wouldn't be big enough to solve our problems, for heaven's sakes. So try this. And I'll give you this guarantee. Try it for 8 weeks. And if you don't like it, I'll refund your misery. How's that for a guarantee? I'll refund your misery, no questions asked. You can have all of it you want. And if you are happy with it, share it with somebody else, because that's where it gets best. For those of us who go to midnight mass, I hope that you will rejoice with song, with prayer, with community, and with joy during this beautiful Christmas time. And I thank you for everyone who's listened this year to this show, and I thank everyone who's been a guest on the show, and I wish all of you a Merry Christmas. And I really thank Nick for everything he's done. I thank Mark Westwood, who's been committed to making sure that this show is a success. What does it mean when a show is a success? It means people tune in. And so if you don't tune in, there's no reason for me to be on air. So I thank you for giving me a purpose for showing up here every week. I want to give a special thanks to my beloved wife, Gabby. As I said, this is our anniversary. But I'll tell you what, I experienced more of God's love through that incredible woman than I could ever put into words. Because she shows me in the way she treats people, the way she goes out and does small things for people that take energy, take time, and she does it joyfully and lovingly. She teaches me every day. I'll come home and she'll be working on something. I said, what are you doing now? She says, this is going to help so-and-so. Particularly with her floral arrangements. If any of you have seen her floral arrangements, please go onto our Facebook site. You'll see she makes beautiful arrangements of flowers. Last week you saw one on the show, those who saw us on Ustream and YouTube. And she goes out of her way to do this for people. She gets the flowers herself. She arranges it, particularly if she sees someone's having a tough time, and she surprises them with it. That's being the hands of Jesus. And I'll tell you, she makes Christmas very exciting. Every time I see her at Christmas time, I get overjoyed because her Christmas is all about what she could do for other people. She certainly is my mentor and my teacher. She's made me a better priest and a better man for that. And so as we're in our last minute, just know that you really appreciate it, those of you who are part of the show. Those of you who tune in and spend time with me every week, and those of you who write me notes and tell me what you're thinking, I read those. I take them to heart, and I'm deeply moved by it. My friend Karen does that on a regular basis, and my friend Roxanne and Jerry does that, and a number of other people. I don't give last names because I don't want people getting stalked on my show, but you have no idea how it warms my heart when you tell me what you've learned, what each guest does for you. And so, as part of our community, I wish you the most beautiful Christmas, a love-filled Christmas, a prosperous Christmas, meaning that you have more friends than you know what to do with, and that you have more love in your family. And Next week, again, Martha Bass will be with us. I'm looking forward to see her. She's a good friend of the show and another person who expresses the love of God deeply and in wonderful ways. She's always a joy to have with us, and I suggest you read her book. And Nick is telling me we're into the last minute. He says, speak slowly. I'm lining up commercials for the next show. But again, this is always a joy to be with you. Please go to Instagram, follow us there. And if no one's told you this week that they love you, let me be the first. And I wish you a very Merry Christmas. God bless.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
Ashes to ash and fun to forget. We know